Welcome back to another series of analytics and business. Have you ever thought that data can translate your business to a dollar value? Now, this discussion, we're going to learn a lot about how to convert your data into a dollar value. And we have got a fantastic line of our speakers. And this is the series we're carrying on for quite some time, over now for the fifth week. And we are giving you all a lot of insight into how you can use analytics and the data to transform the way business is being done. And to again introduce the lineup of speaker, we have with us Dr. Pragati Rawat from US, and she is an eminent professor, and she has held very sensitive and interesting appointments with regard to the analytics, and she has led one of the major initiatives called UID in the government of India. We got Eleni. She is an expert in analytics, and she is from the BFSI and banking sector. We have got Abhijit, who is well-known face now in HR and consulting domain, and in certification domain of analytics. And we've got Engineering Basheer, who is one of the versatile analytics emerging guru in Saudi Arabia. And now we've got this fantastic lineup of speakers, and we have some of the very interesting topics today, which will add significant value to the viewers. And one of the topic is, what is business value? And then we're going to dive on into that. How does data analytics help in creating the business value? And then we're going to graduate to, is analytics that creates business value. Now, let's go on to the first topic. What is business value? Forum open. Dr.
Actually,
Pragati.
we would, yeah.
Okay, I can start. Normally when we talk about business value, people think in terms of monetary value, some revenues or profits, but I'll leave that aspect to my colleagues here in the forum, and let me talk in terms of what government, may consider as value. So when it comes to public service delivery, of course, efficiency of public service delivery is important. Government service delivery is important. So getting the services delivered to most of the people or most of the beneficiaries within the allocated budget, that's valuable. Yes, that's of value. But more important than that is effectiveness and inclusion. So these are some of the things that may be of great value to a government organization. Is everyone who is entitled to the benefits, are they able to avail those benefits? So government sometimes enters markets which a private business would not, because there's no profit in those markets, so it does not make sense for them. But for government, they may enter a market where there is no return on investment. And so the purpose of government and the value for government is totally different. It is inclusion of marginalized, effectiveness of delivery of services. So that may be of value to government organizations.
Eleni.
Yes, so business value in the banking sector where I have worked is the revenue. So we use the analytics for increasing the revenue or reducing the cost, the marketing cost. So for us, the business value was the revenue. I can summarize. I guess depending on each sector, the business value is different.
Abhijit.
No, I think any benefit that the business can accrue is definitely business value. How do we define the benefit is dependent on what organization we are talking about, but it is very important that we define the business benefits clearly. It can be defined in terms of monetary values or in any other terms like cost saving or revenues or even social benefit. But if we know what benefit are we talking about, then we can work towards achieving that business value.
Yeah, Bashir. Engineering Bashir.
Well, it's very interesting because as Elena and everybody else already said, the business value may differ. I worked in the private sector, the nonprofit sector, and the government sector. Each one of them had kind of a unique business value. And using data to maximize that value is of a lot of benefit. For example, in the nonprofit sector, you could use data analytics to reach out for people that were not are not benefiting from the nonprofit sector and help include them, therefore increase the base of the client in that sector.
Now, having now seen the business value about it, Dr. Pragati, you would like to take on that. How does data and analytics help in creating business value?
Yeah, thank you, Sandeep. Yes, so I will be the first one to be speaking on this, but then my colleagues, each one of us are going to be hitting on a different topic. And based on their experiences, going to be talking about how data or analytics has helped in creating business value in the organization. So I'm going to be talking with terms of identity database, particularly the Indian unique identification database or Aadhaar database. But that the benefits that I'm going to be talking about here apply to other identity schemes across different countries as well. So Sandeep, can you pull up my slide? Right. So with regards to the identity database, particularly the Aadhaar or UID database in India, there were two major benefits that have been derived here. One is the first and foremost is inclusion. As I was talking about business value, inclusion of marginalized. So one of the aims of the projects was to have social and financial inclusion, and that is what was attained with this identity database by creating this identity database. So the first benefit is that it provided formal identity proof to millions of residents in India. So 1.2 billion plus to be exact. So, and that identity proof helps them to avail or access public services as well as other services, even private services. So it is helping in delivery of services, access to services. So no matter what services you want to avail, say you want to get a phone connection or you want to transact in property, or you're getting some government benefits like pension or health or income, education subsidies, you need to produce an identity document. And this is where the most biggest advantage comes from this identity database. It has there are certain sections of the society, such as homeless or low income, who are deprived of services just because they're not able to produce identity proofs. So there are 500 million Indians living below the poverty line, and they have access to public services and social benefits, and many of them are not able to avail what they are entitled for because they lack the proof of identity. So the identity database that India created, it provided identity and address proofs to 1.2 billion plus population. Services like pension schemes, LPG, cooking gas subsidy, ration, all has been linked to that identity database now. Now, the other important benefit of that was financial inclusion. Now, without formal ID, many Indians struggle to open bank account. So when we started this program in 2009-10, less than 40% of Indians had a bank account. And now, according to various reports, about 70 to 80% have bank accounts. So when bank accounts are open, banks collect information from their customers, and they do a customer verification known as Know Your Customer or KYC. Now, what this particular identity database did in India is that it provided an opportunity for electronic KYC, e-KYC. So it is a service where residents can authorize the bank to immediately obtain an electronic copy of the official Aadhaar. We lost the slide. So official Aadhaar. So now with that, it provides a paperless, branchless way to create Aadhaar-linked bank accounts almost instantaneously. Otherwise, it would have taken 2 to 4 weeks. And now you have an instantaneous bank account that it can be ready to transact in a few minutes. If we want to talk about cost terms, this is a fraction of a cost what it would cost the banks otherwise to do the KYC. Now, a September 2019 report I was just reading in Europe about Europe. It says that digitizing identity verification with biometrics and other technologies could save a typical bank 10 million euros every year. So that's the kind of savings we are looking at just by providing a biometric identity authentication. You know? The next topic and the next benefit is that the identity database has also provided several financial transaction platforms: government to citizen, business to consumer, consumer to business transaction platforms. So one of the particular one that I want to talk about is Aadhaar enabled micropayments that provides banking at doorsteps to millions of residents who otherwise had to walk, several miles to go to the nearest bank or nearest ATM. So the banking business correspondents here, they carry handheld devices and they authenticate the people on their doorsteps and deliver money to the people. And these are micro ATMs. So now, as per one of the reports, by 2019, over 3 billion successful transactions have been done across 7 lakh different micro ATMs. Okay. Now, the other thing about this database is that for a range of services, the identity database is able to verify whether a person is who the person claims to be. So this is done through demographic or biometric authentication. So what Aadhaar-based authentication here is aiming at is to prevent access to non-genuine persons. So weed out fake identities. So total number of authentication transactions that have been performed by like 2 years back is more than 8.5 billion. So it has an everyday capacity the system has an everyday capacity to process 100 million authentication services. So think in terms of how much benefit to various services it is providing: banking, several schemes, government schemes, as well as other transactions. Now, apart from that, it is also beneficial for good governance. The government uses the information to clean benefit delivery systems of duplicate and fake accounts, which saves millions of dollars for the government. One of the examples that I have here is after linking the cooking gas direct benefit transfers and cleaning the database with Aadhaar, the government made a saving of about 100 billion INR in 2015-16 and 140 billion INR in 2016-17. So think in terms of how much massive government has saved. This is way more than the cost of the program itself of creating this database. So with this identity database, government is able to deliver services effectively, efficiently, and in a transparent manner. Now, I want to invite my other colleagues to talk about their experiences in their countries about identity. So if you have a national identity, how are you using it? How have you seen it to be used in various services? Eleni?
Yes. In Dubai, where I live, the identity is a card where it has a chip and all our personal information is there: our name, last name, home address, email address, mobile phone, passport number. Even our health insurance information is there in our Emirates ID now. And I don't know what more they will add. I heard someone told me they may put in the future, or the last date that you did the COVID test. I don't know if this happens. That's what someone told me. But there is a lot of information there, and it's very easy to use it. You go, for example, to a doctor. You just give your Emirates ID, and they see there your health insurance, and you don't need to do anything more. Or you go to a bank to open an account. You just give your Emirates ID. They have card reader, and they take all your personal information from the chip. This is one example of the card ID we have, Emirates ID we have in Dubai. In Greece, where is my card origin, there is a little different the national ID. There is just a paper with just an ID number and your personal information of name, last name, date of birth, and your parents' name. So it's very basic information, not anything like chip, and this is a paper. Okay. For security, I guess, reasons, they have kept it like this.
Good. What about Abhijit? Do you want to share?
Yeah, definitely. See, so Dr. Pragati has already spoken about the UID system in India. And as you know, if data is the oil, then let me bring in the refinery. So imagine the whole scene from the perspective of the exchequer. So every time the Indian government presents a budget, it has to say what is the expenditure they have made. And this time, say in UID, they have made an expenditure of $100 million to get the data in place. Now we have already seen how data itself is so beneficial. Now let me bring in the analytics perspective. Imagine if I am disbursing aids to 100 million needy people in India. The fact that my reachability to the 100 million people has increased multifolded, my time to reach these people through the aids has reduced by 30 to 70%. Now it is the duty of analysts to see what was the mean time of disbursing this much of funds to this many people, and after the introduction of the data UID system, what is the time to reach these people, and the difference multiplied by where I'm saving the cost is going to give me the amount of money that the government has saved over this period of time. And I'm quite sure that these $100 million would have been recovered within the first month itself, because we were just talking about the direct impact it has had. The analytics will bring in the indirect impact through the secondary employment, tertiary employment details, and will give you a dollar figure of how analytics has brought in the value when we spent in collection of data.
Right. That's a good analysis, Abhijit. What about Bashir? Does Saudi has identity program?
Definitely, and it's not only linked to your identity or bank account. It's even linked to the car registration, to the car insurance, to almost every aspect of your life. For example, I've renewed my car registration recently. And via an app, I have requested the new license to be delivered to me, to my house. For whatever reason, it was like 1 or 2 days late. During that time, I had a car accident, and I didn't have a valid ID on me for the car, car registration. The police came, they just took my ID number, and they found out my car insurance, my new registration, and everything. And within literally 5 minutes, I was done. I had, the papers done, the insurance is done, and I was on my way. So data and ID, linking ID and using data for that ID is extremely beneficial. It will increase efficiency, and it will reduce redundancy and lag in between request of service and delivery of service.
That's a wonderful example. So what we heard here is the various usages of identity database. I gave some examples, and then you heard some powerful examples from Basheer and from Eleni about how the data has been used in providing various services. And Abhijit took it further by talking about how analytics plays a role in assessing the business value that it has attained. Right. So that's all for this topic. I'm going to hand it over to Basheer now, who will be talking about his particular experiences with data and the realization of business value. Over to you, Basheer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pragati. Appreciate it. All right. Any business, any individual who's running any type of an entity that's delivering a service or delivering a product or anything, whoever that person is needs to keep that business running, increase their customer base, and or differentiate in their products from other customers or other service providers. And what happens when you use data correctly and you start analyzing the different aspects of data, categorizing the data correctly, putting it in the right formats, you start creating value and veering from what you thought was right into evidence-based areas where you have evidence to show that your service or product needs improvement in such and such sector, and or you can tap into other types of customer base services and or products just simply by looking at the data and having the data in the correct format to start with. For example, Netflix increased its subscribers just simply by providing what the subscribers want. They're looking for the same type of movies or same type of genres or whatever, and it just simply increased its subscribers by providing them with what they want. Amazon, for example, 30% of their sales is done through referral sale, which basically when you select an item, the algorithm goes and the data that Amazon has tells you that, by the way, whoever ordered this product has also ordered this and this and this and this and this product. Would you like to order any of them? Which makes it easier for the user, one, to identify more value for whatever product they're getting. To the Amazon themselves have increased their revenue, have increased their product sales and customer base, and they're just profiting. Many other companies, such as Cox Cable Television or any other company that uses telemarketing, has increased their efficiency of turning leads into value or into a customer, paying customer, just simply by analyzing what is the customer is looking for and whether or not I can provide that customer with that service or product, and just simply put it out there. So data is extremely, extremely important in this new day and age. And I believe Elena can elaborate more on that, specifically into the banking sector and how data is being used to maximize profitability and customer base. Elena?
Thank, thank you, Engineer Basheer. Yes, I will talk for the banking sector for value creation through analytics-driven CLM. Sandeep, if we can see the first slide, please. So, analytics-driven customer lifecycle management. We analyze our data, our customers' data, their personal information, their transactions, everything, their product ownerships. We understand our customers' needs and we calculate our customers' lifetime value. So we take into consideration their product ownership with the organization, which stage of the product they are. Are they just acquired one product? So we have to onboard them and welcome them in the organization. Are they in the usage stage? So we have to do campaigns to activate and make them use more the product. Or in the growth stage, for example, so where we need to cross-sell them more products so that they have more products with us and become more loyal to us. We have to take into consideration, of course, our customer segment. A priority banking customer needs different campaigns, different approach than another customer. And we have to take also into consideration our customer's life stage, because their needs different. A parent has different needs than a customer who is a student, for example. So taking into consideration all these things and calculating our customer's lifetime value, we design their life cycle. We design their customer journeys for each of our customers. And based on this, we design personalized communications. So if I want to just in one slide, so in summary, what is the value through analytics-driven CLM, customer lifecycle management, we can see here in the second slide that first we apply analytics and we design the customer lifecycle management and calculate the customer lifetime value. We have to know and we need to remember always why we're doing all this, because not all clients are equal, because the VVIP customers, for example, are expecting recognition, because we estimate our marketing budget more accurately, or because we need to retain our customers proactively before they leave us. Now, what is the value that comes out of this? The value for the customers. The value for the customers is they have great customer experience and they are happy with the organization. So this increases their customer loyalty. They are more loyal to our organization. What is the value for the business? As I said before, for the banking sector is revenue. So we have a revenue increase. Why? Because loyal customers have already trust in our organization, so therefore they are likely to spend more. or cross-selling, referrals, or retention strategies and campaigns boost our sales. And of course, we have reduced marketing expenses because always customer retention strategies are often less expensive than attracting new customers, even 5 times more sometimes. So this is the value that we can create through analytics-driven customer lifecycle management. Uh, it needs to do a lot of work on the data analytics to understand in details our customers and then accordingly approach them to cover their needs, not our needs, not organizations' needs. Yes, at the end, this is a target, but we have to put in front the customer needs. This is on the banking sector what I have done all these years, and believe me, it works on the revenue increase. Around 20% of the sales can be through cross-selling.
No, I have an interesting thing to add to it, what we were discussing through Eleni. We were doing one of the retention programs in one of the banks, and uh, the head of retail was extremely worried because there was almost a 20% customer base, which didn't seem to interact with the bank, and they were planning to spend around $1.2 million to get back to these customers and get them back. Unfortunately, we told them that let us do a small analytics and see that, is it worthwhile pursuing them or not. And then we realized that, the total worth of the customers that we were trying to pull back were actually potential less than the amount we were planning to spend on bringing them back. So it was actually beneficial for the bank to just let them go rather than spending money to pull them back. And we also identify a very small bunch of customers who were of value to the bank, and we spent half the amount to just retain them back because we knew that we'll be getting much more revenues than focusing on this customer group. And that is only possible when we have analyzed how they have spent money on the credit cards they owned, how they have renewed their personal loans or housing loans, and understand that what is the net value of the customer before jumping onto a program which is not backed by any fact based approach. And that is where the customer lifetime value comes into play, because data is used to not only calculate the present value of the customer but also the future value of the customer. So you can understand that we are trying to predict that if this customer remains with us, what is the likelihood that he will buy more products from us, and if he's likely buying a new product from us, what is the kind of revenue I'm expecting from the next 5 years. So your treatment to the customers changes drastically. So somebody who is not extremely potential at this moment can be offered high potential or high value benefits, so that he's not taken away by our competitors when this guy starts doing well in life. And which is easy to do because we have his demographics, we have his salary account, we know what kind of profile he has, and it is likely to convert into a more valuable customer than we are thinking at this moment.
Thank you, Abhijit. Yes, absolutely right. It's true. So through the customer lifetime value, which is, as you said, the prediction of the value of our relationship with a customer can bring to our business, in reality, we can also budget our marketing budget. So any
Absolutely.
campaign that we want to spend offers, either retention or even cross-selling, the offers will be accordingly to their lifetime value. So we won't pay more a customer that may have a less value for the bank. So this is very important.
Absolutely.
So the next
All right.
one, Abhijit, you will talk to us
Yeah.
about the business value
For the rest of the industries, it's very
for the
very
rest of the industries.
yeah, we have already covered government, we have already covered banking. The star sector is obviously banking, but I thought today I'll speak something about the non-banking, non-telecom sectors, because banking and telecom, we always know that we generate value of them. uh, Sandeep, can we get the first slide? That's just as the slide says, analytics can create value in almost every aspect of business. The important thing that we discussed in the beginning was that how are we defining the goal that we are trying to reach. Just ask any question. Say, from a supply chain perspective, a business manager comes to me and asks me that, I am treating all my vendors equally. Can I trust them all equally? And I have no answer immediately. So I go back to things like, which are the vendors who have supported us during downtimes, how many times the vendor has missed his deadline of supplying a particular material, how many waste materials have been subjected to a particular vendor. And we start creating a scorecard based on which I'm forming my complete vendor assessment strategy. And this is going to result in a reduction in cost of procurement of materials from my set of vendors, or any other thing like pricing. Extremely important thing which we don't realize is that whenever we go to a store, we see that there is a 30% discount or a 40% discount. How do we arrive at that particular value, whether it is 30% or 40%? It is because we are trying to assess the data and see that at what price, what is the kind of sales I'm expecting. And the objectives can be very different. There are periods when I'm trying to clear my stock, so the strategy is very different, and the analytic leads on that what is the maximum offtake even at a reduced profitability. Whereas in other products, I'm trying to sell my high margin products. One of the things that come to my mind is, you have always seen that there is a warranty attached to whenever we are buying an electronic equipment or an electrical equipment. uh, there is a whole lot of analytics that goes behind it, because what is the warranty I should give? Is it 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years? This is decided because from a quality perspective, we try to assess that what should be the ideal life of a particular product. And then from a marketing perspective, we decide that what is the likelihood that the product is going to come back. And we do a trade off between these two, and see that at what warranty level I am not losing my profits and still not questioning the quality of the product itself. So in lab testing, say, gives a result of 2% rejection, my returns on material should not exceed that 2%. And that is how we arrive at a warranty period. And now this can be converted directly into what is the kind of losses I'm incurring due to the products that are coming back. We can never expect it to be zero. No. Similarly, if you talk about, say, a marketing spends that Eleni was talking about, how do we decide that if I have $100 in my budget, how much should I spend on this item, on that item? It's a direct result of what is the return I'm getting on each one of them. It can either be in terms of reach, in terms of number of customers, which can then be converted into a dollar value, or it can be a direct return on the dollar value that we are doing in sales planning. So it is a limitless thing. The data and the value are so attached to the business that if we are asking the right question from a business perspective, almost every business problem has a solution hidden in that analytics, because that is how the business runs. And in one of our earlier sessions, we had mentioned that the whole purpose of analytics is to convert business from a gambling game to a more assured game, and it lies somewhere in between. It is neither a complete gambling nor a complete 100% predicted function that we are doing. So if we want to play in that area in between, we will keep on doing probability analysis and converting each one into a dollar value. Now, interestingly, I before we wrap up this session, I have another slide which is there. Uh, so this is something which McKinsey had done in the past. They analyzed their top 100 clients and what they have done with McKinsey in terms of analytics in the last 3 years. And they came with these figures where they converted the business benefits into a direct percentages. And as you can see, that can either affect the top line or the bottom line of businesses. And we are talking about the Fortune 500 companies, because it is McKinsey. They do not work with the smaller players. And you can see that even after spending 15, 20 years in uh, analytics driven strategies for the top line, still they are having an impact of 2 to 3% in terms of top line. And you can understand that these 2% converts into few $1 billion. In terms of bottom line, because that was the period when people were starting to spend money on analytics in affecting their bottom line, you can see as much as 20 to 50% effect was there in the cost. So my whole balance sheet, overturns when I'm using analytics to support my business. And I actually leave the forum open to my other part, my colleagues, to bring in real life examples. Have they seen these kind of percentages in when you have applied analytics in your business? Eleni.
Yes. The percentages in the banking sector through analytics, I can say overall numbers. So let's say approximately 20% in the overall product sales.
Hmm.
20% is through analytics-driven campaigns.
Okay.
Okay, depending on the product. Some products are a little higher, some other products are a little, but overall, I would say 20%. And of course, on retentions, we are talking about above 50%. So I would say even 70% for some
Hmm.
proactive campaigns. So we can achieve
Perfect.
attrition. They are
Hmm.
a very
Hmm.
good
Hmm.
high percentage if we are very proactive.
Perfect. Perfect. See, one of the things we missed, Eleni, is that we do analytics because we have a constraint of resources. So if I have a call center which can only call 1,000 people in a day, I can either call 1,000 randomly and expect a few to convert, or I can do a probability assessment of conversion and only contact the 1,000 high probability customers and expect a higher return on the sales campaign that I'm doing. And that is
Very
where the value comes in, the thing in. So I think
correct.
any other suggestion in terms of value creation, or we can move on to the next important question that Sandeep has in mind.
I can add also that it helps also on the channels, as you mentioned now, the calling, for example. Data analytics can help us also what channels the customers prefer to be contacted with.
Absolutely.
So we can also, there are some customers, they prefer only mail. So these customers, even
Absolutely.
if they have a high lifetime value, we won't call them because they don't prefer anything else. They prefer only mail. So all these things, they show us also their preference on the channels. And of
Mhm.
course, based on the lifetime value, what are the channels we're going, or the sequence of the channels we're going to use and when.
So
Uh,
to sum it up the discussion around this, one thing we realize definitely is that it is not the data which determines the value we are going to derive or the analytics we are going to derive. It is, are we asking the right question? Are we having the right expectation from the initiative? If we clearly define the initiative properly, definitely data and analytics has to add value to the any business, whether it is non-profit or profit business.
that that
Right.
brings to mind because we have 1 or 2 minutes here, I see. That brings to mind my experiences with Six Sigma and Lean projects, where you have identified a clear question and a clear team with a defined responsibility uh, to attain a certain objective. So there is a clarity of what objectives you're going to be attaining, and and there is a clear responsibility assigned to who's going to be the champion and the sponsor, and if the team members, and that helps to determine to attain the objective that you have set out to. So one of the
Absolutely.
examples that I have from operations is where we by applying data analytics to a single production line, we attained 25% cost reduction in lifetime buy. And that
Absolutely.
was just one pilot project that we did. And we attained a 25% reduction in the cost of lifetime buy just through data analytics, because the way the decisions were being made earlier versus after the project. So those are that's the power of having clear objective and team assignments.
Now, having seen this in detail about how does data and analytics help in creating the business value, the next obvious question is analytics only the component that creates business value, or shall we rely only on analytics? So uh, let's hear some views on it. both for and against?
Well, uh, to be very honest, analytics depend on data, and data results depends on analytics. So if you don't, it's a question of who came first, the chicken or the egg. Uh, if you prepare your data correctly and you um, set it up to be analyzed to answer the right questions, then you will create massive value from the analytic results, or analyzing this data. You will start seeing hidden trends. You will start seeing value that was not there before. You will start increasing different levels of your productivity, customer base, or even tangible and intangible value, to sum it up. And that could result into a business growing tenfold, or spinning off or divesting from other investments, for example. Abhijit?
What's your take, Dr. Pragati?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's analytics creates business value, because when we are talking about, I was talking about identity database. So how do we know so even to determine who are the beneficiaries, we are using analytics. Who are the beneficiaries? We are identifying the beneficiaries by using that identity database, but we are using other information of income or age, for say pensions or for any other kind of subsidies. So we are to identify that kind, or to derive that kind of information even about beneficiaries, or how much how much was allocated to each beneficiary in different region, in different states, different localities. All that comprises of analytics only. And therefore, yes, analytics is what is creating business, not only creating business value, but it is also helping you determine whether you have attained any business value or not. So when you say that 8.5 billion people receive these services, or they use KYC to open bank accounts, or these banks save this much money by using eKYC, you are using data analytics to produce that kind of results. But of course, I'm 100% with Basheer on the power of analytics is as good as your data is. So if you have bad data, analytics is only is going to provide you only information based on the data you have. So it is going to be only as good as the data that you have in the first place. So clean data is most important for any analytics to be good and predicting, for being predictive.
And I think so. And that's so. In the previous our live wire, we discussed about the good data and the bad data.
Yeah.
In detail about it.
Right. No, and anyway, the process of analytics begins with cleaning the data.
Yeah.
You cannot begin analytics before cleaning the data.
Yeah. I would like also to add something. If analytics, and of course data, I absolutely agree with all of us, create business value. In the banking sector, when you tell them, yes, it creates business value, it's not enough. You have to prove it. You have to prove with numbers. What is the business value that you will bring me with that analytics? So we had to have KPIs to measure these things. So first of all, as we said, the most important thing is to know what you want. Then you build your strategy based on what you want. Then you apply your data analytics, and then you execute and you measure your results. So in the campaigns on the banking sector, we had the control groups. It was a number of clients, usually it's 10%, depending on what is the total number, and accordingly you adjust the percentage. You keep a number of customers that you don't do any communication on customer lifecycle management. We don't do anything, any offer, nothing, no campaign, nothing, zero. And we have the rest that we have applied our data analytics. We have identified the campaigns and the strategy of contact communications we will launch to them. So at the end, we measure their revenue we had from both customer types, the ones under the control group that we didn't do anything, and the ones that we did a lot of campaigns under the customer lifecycle management strategy. And there you can see the difference with numbers. That yes, there is value through analytics, and it may be 3 times more
Perfect.
minimum.
Absolutely. No, actually, the whole point is a very relevant question because the audience we have, and as business people that we are sitting here, whenever we initiate a process of bringing in analytics to the organization, the first question we are asked on is what is the ROI going to be on the analytics expenditure? Is it worthwhile spending the money on the thing? And usually we have seen two different processes of calculating that ROI or the incremental ROI on the investments. One is the past present comparison. So if we have recorded what has been the past, so if we take the case of the UID project, we have past data that what is the cost of disbursement of certain services to the nation pre the UID era and the post the UID era. And if I can compare, then I can exactly tell that what is the incremental benefit that is coming in after the introduction of data and analytics. The other is a test and control group that Eleni was talking about. What happens is that there are certain situations where we have not kept the past data. So what do we do in that case? So what we do is we divide the whole process into two parallel runs. So one is a control group where all campaigns, initiatives are being run, supported by analytics models, which are the statistical models that we are talking about. And the other group is business as usual. What was happening, we let it happen, and then we start comparing the results of the two. What we have also realized, and I'll bring in the Six Sigma example. We had a company called Sundram Fasteners
Mhm.
in India, which came into news because they used to make radiator caps for almost all the automobile manufacturers. Very very small product, but they were the ones who initiated in India the process of achieving that Six Sigma. And Six Sigma means that 1 out of 1 million products produced is actually rejected. And you can understand that analytics did help them track this whole process where we kept reviewing are we in the Six Sigma, Three Sigma, Four Sigma till we reached the Six Sigma stage. And that value itself was calculated. But what was more important, that there was a reputation that was built. That
Exactly.
reputation has no equivalent.
Yes.
So what was the value of the extra business that came in because of the quality initiative that was taken by Sundram Fasteners has to be quantified some place, including the brand value. Sundram Fasteners nobody knew, but there was a brand value created. So, one thing is on an operational level, what is the cost that is coming in? The second thing is at an organization value level. If I put up Sundram Fasteners for sale, the value has attracted 10 times the cost that then it would have few years back. So definitely that is the whole purpose, that analytics itself is a data driven or proof driven process. So there are methodologies where we can agree upon with the top management that this is how we are going to measure the impact of analytics. And once agreed upon, we present the figures in those terms that, see, this is the value that was incrementally created by analytics over and above what the business as usual was.
We have a very interesting question, so I'll keep on interjecting.
Yeah.
And this this question is very interesting in the sense that uh, it just touches the our discussion, but it could be a center stage of the discussion as well. Jim Beck, he says, where do people figure in your model?
No, as we discussed last time also, uh, uh, Sandeep, that uh, people is a qualitative factor. And the purpose of analytics is to quantify those as much as possible.
Yeah.
So if I'm telling that uh, 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 the employee satisfaction is an important parameter, there has to be a purpose why I'm satisfying the employees. If I'm
As a,
satisfying employees
as a
for,
part in a whole component of employee life cycle.
yeah.
That's
So
a
so
that's
if
one component.
I'm taking one very very simple leadership quality or employee satisfaction. These are very very qualitative factor, but there has to be objective. Why is the company spending money on keeping employees happy? Because it is expecting a return from the employees also. if I'm not being able to measure that what is the incremental, why was slavery bad? If slavery was giving me more revenues than happy employees, then let that slavery be there. We shifted from slavery because I needed some dollar value to every business initiative that I'm talking about. So
And I
analytics
think
is the
so.
only way where we can quantify these things.
Yeah. And in HR, when he is talking about people side,
Mhm.
and I believe it is not only the quantitative data, but that also a qualitative information
Absolutely.
or content that's also is very significantly
I
Absolutely.
important.
think another thing that I would like to add in response to that question, Sandeep, is that the employees are as much interested in understanding
Yes.
the value that they are bringing to the business as the business is in understanding what value it is creating. So employees are very interested in what value are they bringing to the organization. So they feel valued when they think that their work is important. And
Yeah.
analytics can help the employees in realizing their value and presenting it to the management.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've,
So,
s- I totally agree with you, Dr. Pragati. But unfortunately, the traditional HR has been based on the more of non-quantitative side, and that's the transition happening now. That's
Hmm.
the HR is moving from the qualitative side to the quantitative side because I've seen that quite many HR professionals, when it comes to the number crunching, they little shy away from it. And for them, they have 100 justification. So I think so. It's time for us to move out from that cocoon, comfort zone, and to really can need to focus that some of the aspect of people productivity, people performance, and align them with the business objectives and the milestones. If you can't do it, then tomorrow neither the organization will exist, neither the people will exist, neither the HR will exist.
yeah.
No, see,
And then there's the qualitative aspects can also be quantified. So
Yes.
absolutely.
when
Yes.
we are talking about
Yes.
trust, so in case
Yes.
of
It
government,
can.
how much trust has improved in the people
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
government? That's a measurable quantity that can be measured, and it can help the government to assess
You
how
can
much.
create, yes, you
Yeah.
can create a hypothesis, you can create a
Similarly,
justification,
about
and you
brand
can,
value and
yes,
things like that. So
yes.
those things can be measured and through an
No, there was
analysis.
an
And then,
interesting example actually. One of my friends was asked in HR that I don't want you to tell me that who should we retain. I want you to tell me that in today's time, which are those 100 people we should ask them to leave so that I again come back to profitability. And there now is the question that how do you assess who are the 100? Because by performance, you can identify 10 because 10 were clear case of ask them to leave. The rest of the 90, you have actually put them under improvement bracket. So how do you measure who is better, who is less? Now, this is where if HR would have quantified what they are expecting from the employees, the results are quite easier to convince, and you do not run the risk of internal dissatisfaction within the organization if you are more quantified in your approach, even in terms of the qualitative aspects. So if I'm
Mhm.
telling communication is bad,
Right.
if you just tell an employee communication is bad, he will not get the sense of it. But if you can tell him that out of 50 projects that you have done, you have only summarized thrice and sent a letter to the team, that is a clear indication to the employee that, okay, so what the HR expects me that for every project, I should be able to summarize the objectives and send a mail, which is a part of my KPI.
and Jim further says in a holistic organization model, analytics is an important component of management practice, but without leadership setting strategic direction and shaping and enabling culture, then the data environment will not motivate people to go the extra mile.
Hmm.
I think that refers to our initial sessions actually,
Yes.
where we were talking about much of the data and analysis happens at individual level. Each individual in the organization is maintaining their own spreadsheets of data and doing their own analysis. But to bring it at an organizational level, to bring it a wholesome figure that can help the organization to move forward and bring every employee together and working in the same direction, That's what a leadership focused on analytics would concentrate on.
And I think so. We discussed about in one of the sessions about creating an analytics driven culture.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That is top down,
So
uh,
that is a big
not
question,
bottom up.
Sandeep. So the big question is, who should be the change agent?
Yeah.
Is it IT? Is it HR? Is it top management? It can be anybody. My
Everybody.
personal view is HR is in the best position because they can influence the organization in a much wider way just because of the reachability this department has. You cannot expect a marketing department to be interacting with finance on a regular basis or IT with a regular basis. It is only HR which interacts with everybody, including the top management. The
And
funniest part is this.
I've seen some of those guys, in HR guys who have exceptional talent in analytics. They have risen very fast. I can give the example of the Indian example is Indian Oil HR director, group HR director. Now he is the CEO of the company. So
Okay.
that's a transition of some people who have been the number savvy, and then
Yes.
they are people savvy. They can motivate and drive people, and if they have the hang of the business numbers, the financials part of the numbers part of it, and they can quantify the people performance and also motivate them, why not? They are the best CEO material from my side.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other? So now we are in a 56 minutes and 46 seconds, 7 seconds. It's time to conclude the discussion. Yeah, a minute for each. Dr.
I
Pragati, start.
believe,
So,
Oh,
okay.
Bashir, engineering Bashir. Yeah, start. Go
I,
ahead. Yeah, yeah.
I believe using data correctly and understanding, having an education about the value of data in an organization will yield massive benefits across all levels. I'm not talking only financial, I'm talking about job retention, training or training needs, self development, coaching, and you go into finance, different products, and increasing your customer base or value proposition, whatever that is. Data education is vital to allow for the right type of analysis to answer the questions that need to be answered by any organization to gain value.
Right. Eleni.
yes, so I would say, are you an organization that you want to increase your revenue and reduce your marketing expenses? If yes, yes, you can. Take care of your customers, understand their needs, apply analytics, design the way you are going to approach them, the intelligent way you are going to approach them based on their behavior and profile, and you will get what you want. You
Right.
will get revenue increase. So analytics can help you do this.
Abhijit.
No, the only thing is that numbers are facts, and facts improve your communication. It is not your language, it is not your accent. If you're talking sense, everybody listens and everybody accepts. It is implemented much easier. So I think analytics is the only way to add value to your communication within the business.
Yeah. Dr. Pragati.
Just summarizing what I talked about today, like when we were creating this identity database, we wanted to create a database that people, various service providers could use with confidence. So right from the outset, we were clear that we want to create a clean database that is usable, because otherwise there are hundreds of databases already existing. But we want to create a database that service providers can use with confidence. And we have seen how this one database has multiple users and has been giving immense cost benefits to the government in various, and to the other service providers who are using that database as well. So multiple usages, multiple arenas for cost savings, cost benefits to multiple agencies through one database that has generated enough confidence in the service providers to be able to use it for various purposes. So That's the power of creating a clean data set and then using analytics to take it forward for your business purposes.
So thank you all. We are in 1 hour time, and it was a wonderful discussion. At the end, I can conclude that anything that the famous saying goes that anything that is measurable can be improved, and anything that can be improved can be sustained. Thank you all. When we will continue our discussion in next series of business and analytics, and thank you all, Eleni, Engineering
Thank
Bashir,
you.
Abhijit, Dr. Pragati, and see you on our next LinkedIn Live.